Hello, it's Anne. I'm back after a few months of pause because life sometimes gets in the way. And I just did a few days ago the first part of the evaluation of MaudCouture38's shop. I did it in French because Maud's French and her shop is in French. But I thought that what I was talking about would be interesting for English speaking people also, and so I decided to do a quick one explaining what I was saying in French. Okay, so first things first, I need to change the language of the site back to English, and so well, I'm just going to talk about the pictures today because when I looked at Maud's shop, it's the first thing that I saw. It's the pics, and I was explaining that even though people on Etsy might be looking for handmade things, and so which means people who work at home, sometimes in a studio, more or less professional, but with the handmade label, it doesn't mean that the pictures have to look homemade. It used to be that it was really easy to sell on Etsy because there wasn't a lot of competition and you could get away with not so good pictures. It's not the case anymore. People want professional looking pics, and it's really important to make sure that you have pics that catch the eye, that pop, right away. You see one pic in a screen full of search results, and you say, "Ooh, this one." Okay, and so in this shop, the first thing that you can see is that the white balance isn't consistent from one pic to the next. So you can see this one is, the white is a little yellow. On this one, it's a little yellow with a little red in it, and these two are definitely bluish. And so this would create confusion in the mind of the buyer because they wouldn't know which set of color to trust. Okay, when you're selling on the internet, you have to make sure that people can see your items accurately because they can't touch them, they can't see them in real life. And so the pics is really the most important thing to get your point across, especially in this case, since she's selling really fresh looking items, the zipper pouches and such, with really modern, lively fabrics. Then you have to make sure that the colors pop and also that the colors are accurate. Okay, so the first thing is to learn how to do white balance. Personally, I use Photoshop, but if you don't want to use Photoshop or you feel it's too complicated for you, there are lots of apps. Sorry. Okay, there are lots of apps that you can use to edit your pictures. The first that comes to my mind is called iPicky. I'll give you the link below this video, and it's a free app. You can do quite a lot with it. Just make sure, whichever app you're using, that it doesn't resize your pictures and give you a picture which doesn't have enough resolution to look good on Etsy full screen. So whether you're editing the pics on your cell phone or your laptop, make sure that you're getting a pic which is the same size after it's been edited than it was when it went in. Personally, I find editing on a cell phone a little bit tricky because cell phone screens tend to autocorrect the colors so that so that everyone feels like the best photographer in the world. The thing is, we don't want the best pics on your cell phone. We want pics that are accurate and that when your customer see them, that will give them a really accurate feel of the colors of your items. Okay, and so I find that there is less bias in a well-calibrated laptop or desktop screen, although of course each screen, yours and the buyers, will introduce a little bias, but it's good for you to make sure that the pics on your different screens are as close as possible in terms of color to the real thing, okay? And you can see here, this looks like it's the same green, but it doesn't look the same. And here we have them both next to each other, so we can sort of think that the color is in between these two colors. But if people come on one of these inner search results, they won't have them both. And the fact that this one really looks blue, people are not going to take the risk because they're going to think, okay, the colors are look. I don't know what color it is really. Okay, so that's the first thing. Learn how to edit your pictures. And I'll talk a little bit about photo setup. You don't necessarily need, for object items of this size, you don't necessarily need a fancy camera, but you need to learn to edit properly and to take pictures properly. So the second thing that struck me here is that the pictures look homemade, really. Because you can see here the texture in the carpet, you can see the texture on the wall, and you can see here the line here, which shows, well, the pouches were on the floor next to the wall. Okay, there's a really easy way to get rid of this, and it's to use some kind of cardstock, a large sheet of cardstock that you will tape to the wall and let it fall on the floor. And so it will give you a smooth transition here between the wall and the floor, so that you can set your items on it, but it will uniformize, if that's a word in English, I'm not sure. It will make the background uniform. Okay, so the color you use is a little bit dependent on your on several factors. White, or sort of slightly off-white, is good because it tends to uh, put the focus on your item, okay? And that's important because, once again, people need to see at first glance what it is that you're selling and whether they want to buy it or not. And for example, if you look at this one here with the zipper pouch in the back and a candle in the front, and imagine coming upon this without knowing what the shop sells, so just in a search result, you're very probably going to think that this shop sells candles, okay? Because you can't really tell what this is because it's not close enough, okay? And the candle is drawing the eye. So it's good as a first pick to have a picture which will enable people to see at one glance what it is you're selling, and with accurate colors and close up large enough so that you can see the item and what it is. For example, here you could get rid of all this space here, because don't forget that when people are looking at search results, they're looking at really tiny pics, okay? So if the frame can be as close as possible to the item, it's good, okay? Then, for example, in this picture here, it's difficult for me to tell what exactly the pic is, what it shows, because I see the fabric and I imagine this is some sort of a container. I can't see if it's a zipper pouch or not. And these, which are wipes, you from look at them from a little bit far away, which will somehow mimic how people will see them in a search result. You can't really tell what they are, okay? And so it might be better not to show them this way, but maybe to make a stack with them and use an angle where both the container and the wipes are close to the front of the picture, and it's better to show what they are, okay? Because I wouldn't know what it was that was sold here in this kind of pic at first glance. Okay, this one is a little bit clearer because it's from the top, but I wouldn't necessarily use this either as a first pick. You have to be really, really clear with the first pick, okay? Okay, so let me just go back to the shop front here. Um, so I was talking about cameras, and so I explained already about the cardstock. This is really a simple and inexpensive way to have a more uniform background. And also, if you choose white, it's good because it reflects the light and it will act as a sort of uh, light box. Okay. You don't necessarily need fancy equipment unless you sell really small items which might require a good macro camera lens, which is my case with the beads. You can use your smartphone, no problem, as long as you use the highest resolution that you can so that the pics are really good, not blurry. And in terms of lighting, what you don't want is direct sunlight, because direct sunlight uh, will saturate the really white parts, and it will be very difficult to balance the colors after that. You'll have a really blinding white spot, and you don't want that. What you want is a sort of uniform light, and this is best obtained either in the shade or if you're inside, just next to a window. So put your photo setup next to a window at a 90 degrees angle to the window, so the light is coming from the left. Okay, you can see here a little bit of that. Here you can see the light is coming from the left to the right. And for the eye, the human eye, it's better to have the light traveling from left to right, because that's, at least for us, that's how we read. And so that's the natural path, okay, that our eye is used to traveling. Then again, let me emphasize again that editing, post-production on pictures is absolutely necessary. It's almost impossible to get pics right the first time, okay? And so you absolutely learn to know how to do that. Okay, so that's all I wanted to talk about for today. So that's really the first thing that struck me with Maude's shop. So don't forget to sign up, subscribe to my channel if you want to know when I post more. And let me just give you a little heads up, because my mentor, Renee Christine, who's an American coach specialized in handmade business marketing, is opening for a very, very short time. Well, she's launching a new collection of products that you've never seen before. So I can't tell you what they are, but I've tested them, and I can tell you they are really, really interesting if you want to learn marketing for your handmade business. The catch is that you cannot access that launch if you haven't pre-registered. Okay, it's going to be a private launch, and for you to be able to access it and see what it's about, and once again, trust me, these are good. You just have to pre-register before September 2, because the products are going to be launched on September 2 and for only 3 days. And only the people who have pre-registered before September 2 will be able to access the launch. So I'm going to put a link right below this video for you to follow, just so that you can sign up. Okay, then you'll have on September 2 you'll have an email telling you exactly what the launch is about, and you'll have 3 days to decide whether this is for you or not. Okay, but you do have to pre-register, so don't miss it. Okay, so see you later. Bye bye.